Good morning, Araceli. This is Professor Anderson with some feedback for your writing assignment number one. I thank you in advance for an extreme amount of patience. I'm not sure why your feedback isn't attached. There are about 5 students this has happened to, and unfortunately, you fall into that group. I'm experiencing some technical difficulties that I'm trying to get over, and I'm just not sure what's going on. So let's start fresh here, and I will give you as much time as you need. Here's some feedback for your writing assignment number one, which this particular your set of instructions is very near and dear to my heart. I've used this to be able to access an old computer. We had Windows Vista, and then when it was no longer supported, I had to use a VMware to be able to get into my documents and so forth, many of which never migrated over, which was another kind of nightmare. But anyway, so let's take a look at your writing assignment number one, and I want to show you the set of instructions, that what we have here. We need 25 steps, 10 graphics, 4 should be original. Anything borrowed needs to be an APA format. All need to be labeled, a quick brief description, and so forth. So when I go through, I love this description. It allows for the audience to be informed of exactly what it is that they are able to do and use with VMware. And it also identifies exactly who your audience, a basic understanding of a computer and computer software is needed for this task. So the only thing that I would recommend with this, in terms of, remember, audience is the most important factor in any set of instructions, is give a definition of what basic understanding might be, an understanding of how operating systems work, or an understanding of how to install files and run new software, just to give a little bit more of an understanding of what the term basic understanding of computers and computer software is. So I love how you have your figures and items listed. You have a nice separation of color display for sort of a visual presentation. I recommend utilizing a little more white space. So I like how all of your images are right here in the center. That's a great use of white space in terms of creating a hard edge. The user knows where to expect images, where to automatically go. What I recommend excuse me, make all of your images the same size. So this one would either become this large, or this one would become this small. Additionally, I would separate between your label of your figure and then your next section. So maybe 2 hard tabs there, and then a little bolder for the equipment and materials, or a little larger, and then tab in all of this information. So what you want to do is create this here's my title, here's my task, here's my items kind of feature, where you're layering your information so you can guide your reader through. Anticipation of where to find information is the largest key for sets of instructions. It's the biggest aid for a user to understand where the information is. I love this graphic. Not only have you made it nice and large so that old people like me can see it, but you've also added key features to illustrate and number coordinated them. So this is a perfect one. Again, all that I would do is set this down one, separate some space between your figure label and then your figure description. Here we go one more time. Whoops. In this area, I would have this a little larger. Set this image either the same size as this or this. Make sure that your images are similar. I know you're using, you can tell from all of our screencasts, I use a MacBook Pro too. That's my computer. And so you can, when you take a screenshot, you can, of course, set the size. And I like how you've trimmed out the the area. Here's one more time. See where you need to. One suggestion is shrink the font, decrease this font size for the figure numbers, and then also set a hard character turn in there. As we go through, you want to, I think, do the same. I recommend one, of course, your images need to be similar in size, but your hard edge, you do have them in the center. Sometimes it's easier to have your images on this hard edge, right justified, and then your instructions left justified. So your user is physically moving left to right through the documents to be able to understand the sets of instructions. Again, I love how you've utilized this feature of inserting images over top of your screenshot. And then I want to go down here where sometimes where you have this, okay, and this happens often. You may want to go back through here. Click and drag Windows 10 file in the section that has drag written on it. Drop, see figure 8. So this would be a hard character. This is not the set of instructions. You had like 4 separate instructions in there. This is before Windows. Hold on just a second. Oh, it was up here. You just want to, I would recommend combing through and make it here. I think it's in here. Type, note, hit enter. Maybe it's up here. You just had several, here we go. Click, 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 type, press is the next one. Locate is the next one. So you want to separate each instruction as a separate step. Just think of in sets of instructions like a grocery list. As soon as you get that item, you want to be able to cross off the whole line. So as soon as I pick up my tomatoes, they're off the list. I'm not looking on that line anymore. If I were to say that, if this were, a grocery item, number 4, I can't cross the whole line off at once. I have to cross half of it and then, or a third of it, and then a third of it, and then a third of it. So make sure your sets of instructions are like a grocery list. Other than that, I think it's great. So here's my 3 recommendations. Check out your sets of instructions, make sure they're grocery list. Size your images so that they're the same, and create a flow from left to right in your document where you have instruction, details, image, so that your user is moving consistently left to right throughout the document. I left you I will leave this as an email also. Let me know when it is. I would say please don't go any longer than say like the 7th of November. I mean, today's 29th. I'm sure that's plenty of time. I know you have your final paper you're working on, but if you could get that back to me by about that time, that would be grand. That way we can move on with the next tasks.